Thank you so much.
Well, it brings me immense pleasure to welcome to this stage in CKUA's live performance space. How about it for the one and only Tony D?
Thank you. Thank
what
you, Grant.
A pleasure. Amazing. We're so
Thank
excited
you.
to be here. And you know, Tony, this is only the second ever live hidden track that we've done. You've been at both of them.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I loved it. I went to the first one, which was with Major Love, am I right? And it was right here in the studio. So I loved that whole idea. And this is the only second.
Yeah, it's only the second. You're 2 for 2.
Okay.
Not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad,
All
my
right.
friend. Okay, well, we're here not just to enjoy a night of great music, but also to celebrate a long-awaited album, Electric Delta. Kind of blew me away because you're so fruitful in your many endeavors. It's been literally 20 years since the last full-length album of brand new material from Tony D.
Yeah, I got busy with this little band called MonkeyJunk for a while, and then so that took up a lot of my
Heard of them,
a lot of
guys?
my times, and of course, one of the people that works here at your station, Mr. Holger Peterson, took the band on and his old label at Sony Plain. So that was great, and so I've been
For
doing
him
that
too?
for a long for all the records I think are, and so that took a long time, and then but yeah, I'm really happy I got a chance to put out my own record, and it's been 20 years. The great long pause that we all went through, you know, the pandemic, I got to write a lot of songs, so. And that was how this album started happening.
Yeah, I'd really like to ask you about some of those songs too, because it's such a killer record. Like, everyone is a winner on this thing. It's just amazing, and it showcases the breadth of your passion for music and your ability, which is, you know, you've been doing this thing for a long time.
Yeah.
Let's say,
Yeah.
How did this music bug bite you in the first place? Because I get the sense you're somebody that, you know.
I mean, from day one.
Yeah.
Well, from day one, I remember I was able to. I had. My aunt, this is back in Italy, my aunt used to have a record player, and I remember this vividly, and she used to have records, and I used to put them on all the time. Apparently, she used to tell me that I couldn't get away from it every time. I'd want to go over to her house so that I could play records. And I remember a record that she had, which was by the Beatles.
Ooh.
And the song was, She's Got the Devil in Her Heart. Whoa, whoa, whoa. You remember that song?
That seems like something kind of subversive for a young fella.
Well, but that was, I think, the B-side of She Loves You, Yeah.
Yeah, right. And never collected on an album, if I'm not mistaken.
Which album? It came out on an album?
No, I don't think it did. It was a
just
non-album
single.
B-side.
But I remember that song as I was like 3 years old or something.
You were even into the deep cuts then.
Yeah, deep cuts. Yeah, it would be. But that's how it all started, and then I just got into it, and I used to put, in school, I used to put elastic bands on my rulers and pretend they were guitars, so. And my French teacher, I remember my French teacher, she said, you really should get a guitar. So I asked my dad, and my dad bought me a guitar. And, you know, he was being typical dad. He said, oh, this is the first and last one I buy you, and which was not true. My father was the biggest supporter in my life. He came to all the shows, and he was just whatever. I mean, I remember he used to steal my cassette tapes, and I couldn't find my Hendrix tape, and then it would be in his car, you know, or something like that. And so my dad really loved the music as well. He loved all kinds of music, and I think that had a lot to do with it. And then I have an older brother who's hip, right, and would bring home all the great records, you know. Mm-hmm. So I got to hear all kinds of fantastic music through him as well.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's how it started for me. Right?
And when you were growing up, was that in Ottawa mostly?
That was mostly in Ottawa. I was born in Italy, and I came over on a boat, you know, the typical story, and we had never seen snow like. It was December too, and we were from like near the south of Italy, so you didn't see stuff like that. And we went straight to Ottawa because we had an uncle who sponsored the family. This would have been December '68. So
yeah. You came up alongside a lot of really amazing people in that part of the world, like around that time.
Yeah,
deeply interested in blues.
Well, in the scene, yeah. So I used to go out and see all these great local musicians. People like, there was a guy named Back Alley John that used to, some of you might remember Back Alley.
Legend.
He was to me, he was always from Ottawa, but he was from all parts of Canada. And and then there was another guy named Larry the Bird Mutham who actually lived here in Ottawa, in Edmonton for a very short while. And he put on the first blues festival that Ottawa ever had. There's a very famous blues festival in Ottawa, and it's it's called Blues Fest, but it's not a blues festival anymore.
Headliner is
it
Sting.
started out as a blues festival, but it's everything now. But the early festival that Larry would put on, he put on 2 of them. And one of the festivals had Muddy Waters, Coco Taylor, John Lee Hooker, John Hammond, Fabulous Thunderbirds, and the Nighthawks. This is what I remember. This was one night. And I was 17 years old, and I wanted to meet Muddy Waters. And so I went to a club. After the festival, he was at a club. I heard that he was at a club, and I got into this club, and there he was, sitting beside Coco Taylor. And I got to meet Muddy. I went up to him. I said, "Mr. Waters, I think you're great." And he shook my hand and said, "Thank you, son," in that voice. And that was it. But, I mean, you know, I'm amazed that I got into the club. I still think about how did I get in? But, you know, so things like that would happen. And then I ended up, Larry had a band, and so I was playing with my own local band at the time, and so we were about 17, 18, and then he started a band called the House Rockers, and we had a house gig at a place called San Antonio's House Rockers. And he would bring in people like Buddy Guy, and I played rhythm guitar for Buddy Guy for 3 nights.
What?
So yeah. So I think about this now, but I wasn't intimidated back then because I didn't know who Buddy was. And then Buddy tells me, you know, he was talking about when he played with Muddy, and I went, "You played with Muddy?" That's how naive I was. So, and so I got to play rhythm guitar. He gave me 1 solo on Saturday night. But there's, so Larry was in the band, and there was a great piano player named Johnny Russell who lives in Winnipeg now. He was in the band at the time, and the local bass players and drummers. And I also got to play with Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee because Larry brought those guys in.
Wow.
And John Hammond, I got to play with him, and I was 19 years old.
Oh my gosh, that's quite.
So it's like it was really cool. What was really cool though was watching Buddy and my dad drink scotch together. Because I remember they would sit down after the show and just talk, and so it was. And then a club called the Rainbow happened.
Yeah.
And I had a band called Saints and Sinners, and we were popular, and we opened up for Stevie Ray Vaughan in 1984. And
At the National Arts Center,
at the
right?
National Arts Center 40 years ago.
Wow.
Oh, and this is how old I am. When we opened for Stevie Ray Vaughan, Mr. Steve Mariner, who plays in MonkeyJunk, wasn't even born. So, which he wasn't. He was born about 4 months later or something like that. So that's, so we got to open up for him, and then this great club called the Rainbow happened, and the Rainbow brought in everybody. They brought in Bo Diddley, Coco Taylor, Sun Seals. They brought in Katie Lang when she first started, Katie Lang and the Reclines, and a little-known band that nobody knew who they were, but they would open up for a band called the Florida Razors, and they were called Blue Rodeo, and nobody knew who they were. And we thought, yeah, they're okay. And then the Florida Razors had it was the Florida Razors. I think Tom Wilson played in that,
Whoa.
so he was a singer of that. So this was a great club, and everybody. Dr. John played it, and the Rainbow is still there.
Yeah.
It's been 40 years. That place is still there.
doing great
40
stuff.
years this month, actually.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So, yeah.
All right.
They were going to close about 2 years ago, and I did the final show, and then somebody showed up with a big pile of cash and saved them, so that was great.
Oh, you got the golden touch.
Yeah, and so, they got 9 lives, that club, by the
Yeah.
way. And so that club was really important for me because I got to hear a lot of great players, but I also got to open up for these people, and I got to meet them.
And learn from them, right?
And learn from them, yeah. And I started, I met some great people like Andy J. Forrest from New Orleans and Johnny Sansone from New Orleans. That's why I ended up playing with them years later. And so it was like a huge education in that city for a while.
this fella from Ottawa via Alberta somehow found a way to record this album in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. How did that come about?
I'm truly Canadian. That came about because a couple of years ago, or a year and a half ago, I got asked by a friend of mine named Wayne Nicholson, who's a great singer, a blues rock singer out of Halifax, Nova Scotia, to produce his record. And he produced we all did. We all produced this wonderful record called Gin House. So if you get a chance to check out Wayne Nicholson's Gin House, it's fantastic. And it's got some great players. Bruce Dixon on bass, who used to play with Rita McNeil, and also Kim Dunn, who's currently playing with Matt Anderson, one of the best keyboard players in this country. And
he's on your record, too.
Yeah. So what ended up happening is I produced this record, and I had to go back. No, I went on tour with MonkeyJunk, and we went out east, and we had a day off. I thought, well, I got these songs. I'm going to go back to the same studio that I went when I was producing Wayne's album, which is Fang Studios in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. It's owned by Joel Plaskett. And it's attached to Taz Records, which is a great record store out of Nova Scotia, and a coffee shop as well. And if you are recording, you get all the free coffee and tea. You get jagged pretty good by about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the songs are a little bit quicker than they should be. But so I went in there. I had a day off on tour. We were opening for Colin James, MonkeyJunk was, and so we had a day off, and I booked the studio, and I ended up recording 4 songs that day. And I had Matt Saab from MonkeyJunk playing drums, and I got to record with one of my heroes, a guy named Greg Fish Fancy, who used to be the bass player for one of my other heroes, Dutch Mason, in the early years. And those guys were like everything to me. They really were, because I played with Dutchie for about a year and a half. I was his guitar player for a while. But Greg Fish Fancy is like, I mean, if I'm in a room with him, I'm still a giddy little kid. I'm like, he's a rock star to me as far as I'm concerned, right? And I remember when I went to Europe back in the 90s, and I booked a tour in Europe because I used to have a record deal out in Holland. And I had a bass player who was supposed to go with me, and he decided to bail, like, on the last minute. And Greg Fancy Fish found out that I needed a bass player, and he called me and said, do you still need a bass player to go to Europe? I'd love to come. And I couldn't believe that he would come with me to anything. And so he did, and then we played for years together. And so this time I knew I was coming in, and I had a day to record, and I thought, one thing I've never done with Fish is record, so I got to record with my hero, and so he's on the record. He's on 4 songs.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
And the journey of this album was truly born. That's amazing, and it's kind of incredible for us too, because we just had Joel Plaskett on the Hidden Track podcast.
Oh, did you?
An episode ago. So
okay.
This is pretty amazing.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah. Well, say hi to him next time you see him, because
Sure
Joel was just through it. Yeah. Wonderful guy, and I blew up his amp during the recording. And then, so I went. So we recorded 4 songs. I went back out. Then I had to come back to Nova Scotia to do a record release party for Wayne, and I booked 3 more days. And I used Jeff Arsenault on drums, who's
legend.
One of the best drummers probably in the world.
Yeah.
And, he plays with Matt Anderson currently. He used to play with Morgan Davis for the longest time, and again, Kim Dunn. And I got to use Joe Hawkins, my bass player from Ottawa. And who else was on? That was just the core of it. So Kim, Joe, and Jeff and I. And then I also added other people on the record. So now we go back to Ottawa. Steve Mariner lays down some harmonica and mixes 4 songs. Then I got all these backup vocalists. And one of the vocalists is from here.
Dana Wiley.
Dana Wiley.
Yeah.
From Secondhand Dream Car. And she's on 3 of the songs. And then we also have Stacey Tabb, who's from Toronto, and she sings she sings backup for Amanda Marshall right now, and so she's on a couple of other songs. So, and we got to record Dana at Dan Lynn Studios. I guess, is the area Sherwood Park?
Strathcona County.
Okay, yeah. And so with Miles Wilkinson being, he was the engineer. And Miles is so good, right? Because Dana was doing all her parts, and I had already done my vocals, and they started sounding great. And at one point, Miles says to me, I want you to go in there, and I want you to sing the last verse, but an octave lower. And I'm like, why? Just go do it, and so I did. And it sounds like Tom Wilson's on the album, but it's not. It's me. And, this is how great Miles is. Like, he has ears, and he said, go and do that. And I just love that part now.
Yeah.
So it's the last verse on a song called Highway 7.
Right. Great.
So
great
if you're
song.
listening to the record, Highway 7, the last verse, you'll hear this real low-end vocals, and that's me, But, and so I got to do that. Then I recorded 2 more songs back in Ottawa, and so there you go. It's all over the place.
It all came together in a magical way, it feels like, and at the right time too, and with the right people. And Joe is going to be here on stage with yourself,
Yes.
and with a couple of Dana's secondhand dream car
Yes.
bandmates, Jamie Cooper and Rooster Davis, right away.
Yeah, they're
and,
great.
And I understand the guitar player and singer is pretty good in this band too.
He's okay. He's really tall. He's very tall. Thank God he's good looking. I'm going down Highway 7. Gonna drive past hell, baby, to get to heaven. I won't move too fast, honey. I won't move too slow. Raise my right hand, darling. Let everybody know. Let everybody know. Let everybody know. Let everybody know. I'm gonna move down Highway 7. They hitch you to ride, baby, just to get me there. 'Cause one's still a fool, other can't be satisfied. Highway 7, baby, I let my angels ride. 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 Right on, baby. Put your hands together once again for Jamie Cooper back here on the drums. Rooster Davis on the keyboards. Hey, Joe, where you going, Joe Bro? Hawkins on the bass guitar. I love to thank CKUA for playing all the best music in Canada and being one of the greatest radio stations in this country. Because here's the thing, radio matters because music matters, and we like to thank you from the bottom of our heart for keeping the music alive. Thank you, CKUA. Thank you to Grant Stovall. Thank you to all the staff here. Brendan and Scott, the technicians back there. Lori Iverson, Ariane, thank you very much, and thank you for coming out, and I hope you had yourself a good time. And, go support live music, because we need you people out there for every band that comes through. also like to thank all the ladies up front selling the merch, Meg and the crew. Thank you very much. I'm on a roll down Highway 7. I'm gonna get lucky, whatever gets me by. I'm going low, but I can't look back. Down Highway 7, baby, I let my angels ride. 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 I let my angels ride, baby. I let my angels ride, baby. I let my angels ride, honey. I let my angels ride. Woo! Thank you very much. I hope you had a good time. Good night, everybody. Thank you.